I overthink everything. I analyze every detail imaginable, imagine scenarios that'll never happen, and sometimes it even stops me from trying in the first place. But here's the thing. I've never once thought of this as a problem, and here I'm going to tell you why it's not and how we should be using overthinking to our advantage. Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Kevin, and I recently came across a problem when preparing for this video that made me think there's no way people are struggling with this, and that problem is overthinking. And what is overthinking? Well, overthinking is often seen as a loop of excessive thoughts about a problem or situation without moving toward a solution. It's when you replay conversations in your head, dissect every detail, and ask what if in an attempt to avoid mistakes and control every possible outcome. I completely disagree with this definition because as someone who does overthink, I do so to avoid making as many mistakes as possible, prevent failure, and yes, maybe it does scare me from doing things from time to time because of fear, but there's a reason we fear things. That sense of worry is a warning telling us our body something could go wrong, and I need this tool of overthinking to ease that feeling. But I'm finding that's where most people struggle, where they can't come to a conclusion, and they do get stuck into an endless loop, which makes them think they have a problem when in reality it's not. And since there are so many forms of overthinking, I'm going to focus on this type. The kind that keeps us trapped in analysis paralysis, where we overanalyze our next steps to the point that we delay or completely avoid taking action toward our goals. But the problem isn't that we are actually overanalyzing the steps, the problem lies in the structure of how we think. Because overthinking isn't bad, despite everything that social media says. Now I want to take a moment to acknowledge something important. When I talk about embracing overthinking, I'm specifically addressing the analytical mind that many of us have. What I'm advocating for is not ignoring mental health concerns, but rather reframing the everyday overthinking that many of us experience as a potential strength when properly used. We can learn to direct that tendency productively, rather than seeing it as a flaw. So now I'm going to walk you through how to structure your thought process to break free from that cycle, and ironically, the key to overcoming this is more overthinking, but in the right way. So the first thing I want you to do is think of your mind like a GPS. Overthinking, when done right, is like carefully planning your route, checking for detours and preparing for all possible outcomes. But when overthinking becomes a problem, it's like driving around aimlessly without a map, constantly changing routes without knowing where you're going. The issue isn't the GPS itself, it's the lack of a clear destination or the constant second guessing of the path you're already on. So what I'm trying to say is that when looking into our future and what we want to achieve, we have to make a plan with a clear goal in mind so that we don't have to second guess our thoughts. For example, I'm currently a second year at a community college. When graduating high school, I didn't have as much of a drive to apply myself in the right ways to get into some dream school for a few reasons, including I didn't know what I want to study, I could save a ton of money, and for convenience being close to home. But after graduating, I didn't just want to sit around and wait for college to blindside me. I wanted to plan out my life for the next few years. And I did that with a framework of thinking that I will run you through now, but I'm going to use a hypothetical example to show you the full process. Okay, let's just say my goal was to one day become a millionaire. Okay, cool. I have my goal. Now that I have that, I'm going to have to research how to get there so I know the steps I have to take. But already here comes problem number one. People get caught up in researching every possible path looking for the perfect way to reach their goal. So now, I start researching ways to become a millionaire, but suddenly I'm drowning in advice, real estate, stocks, starting a business, high income skills, and now I'm overwhelmed. And my strategy here to overcome this will be different from person to person, but the process for it is the same. For all those paths, I think about three things. How much time would it take to get there? How much effort will I have to put in? And what is the likelihood that I will succeed? Now, everyone has their own opinions on how much time is too much time, how much effort is too much effort. The most important of these 3 points is what is the likelihood that I will succeed? Because as overthinkers, we are afraid to make decisions without a guaranteed outcome. And trust me, I've been there, which is the reason we try so hard in the first place to make the likelihood of success 100%. But as overthinkers, we have to weigh the differences on these 3 points depending on our scenarios. For example, let's just say somebody has a 95% chance to succeed by starting the software company that would take them a huge amount of effort and 10 years of time to learn all the skills. This person might be willing to spend 3 years and a lot less effort, but with only a 35% chance to succeed through trading stocks. This is where a lot of people can get stuck. We want to succeed, but also don't want to hate ourselves in the process. That's why the real skill isn't just thinking, it's deciding which trade-offs you're willing to accept, whether it's more time, effort, or risk you're willing to sacrifice. This structured way of thinking is called a trade-off mindset. Instead of looking for the perfect path, think about what trade-offs make the most sense for you. Do you prefer a longer, more certain route, or a faster, riskier one? Neither choice is wrong, it depends on what you value more, security or speed. By using this trade-off mindset when overthinking productively, we're actually doing something economists call calculating opportunity cost. Understanding choosing one path means giving up another. Every hour spent pursuing one goal is an hour not spent on something else. Overthinkers are naturally skilled at seeing these opportunity costs because we consider multiple scenarios. Instead of seeing it as a burden, we can use it as a strategic asset to make more deliberate and informed choices. So one by one, I'm analyzing the paths to become a millionaire. I write them down with the 3 points I mentioned in mind using the trade-off mindset to calculate their opportunity costs, which as overthinkers, we naturally do, and instantly cross off the routes that make no sense for me until there are only a few options left that I would actually be willing to take action on. But this brings me to a bigger question that people who overthink struggle with, the what if questions. What if I do try but only fail? What if I end up wasting my time? This is one of the biggest fears overthinkers have, the idea that if we do put in all this time, effort, and still fail, then it was all for nothing. But the truth is that time spent learning, improving, and taking action is never truly wasted, even if the outcome isn't what you expected. Think of it like going to the gym. If you spend months working out but don't hit your goal weight or max lift, was all that effort wasted? No, because even if you didn't get exactly where you wanted, you still got stronger, built discipline, and improved your health. The same applies to any goal in life. The skills and experience you gain along the way set you up for future success, even if you fail at first. So if I did spend years trying to become a millionaire, going the software company route, and did end up failing, I would still have improved all my technical skills, financial management skills, product development skills, and a lot more, making me far more capable of succeeding wherever I go next. And the fact that 90% of startups fail long term should warn us that we are likely to fail. So to fully utilize that time until then, we should spend the time to overthink beforehand and optimize the path that gives us the most experience. So as overthinkers, we need to reframe the fear of failure. The question, what if I fail, or will I be wasting my time, stops making sense when we start analyzing the growth that happens in the process. You may have not achieved your goal yet, but you haven't failed. You've made progress, and that progress gives you the skills, experience, and confidence to do it better the second time. Once we stop seeing failure as wasted time, we open ourselves up to entirely new ways of thinking, ways that help us use what we've learned to succeed in our next goal. So when planning out which path to take, along with the 3 points I mentioned earlier, how much time would it take to get there, how much effort will I have to put in, and what is the likelihood that I will succeed, also ask yourself this. In the worst case scenario, where I fail to execute this idea, what valuable knowledge and experience will I gain? Focus on how those skills can be transferred to future opportunities to ensure that no effort is truly wasted. This provides people with a structured way of overthinking that lets them use the worst case scenario thought process to their advantage by turning it into a safety net. This allows people to take action with confidence, knowing that even if they don't succeed immediately, they will still gain valuable skills and experience that move them forward. Now, this whole process doesn't just work with this made-up becoming a millionaire scenario, so I'm going to bring it back to when I was planning my 2 years of community college. I used this thought process to give me a clear plan for this time period, primarily for picking my major. For my major, I researched how long it would take me to get all the required classes done. I looked at how difficult or how much effort I would have to put into these classes for me to get an A, and I compared that with the transfer admittance rates for each major for the schools I wanted to get into to see how likely that my effort and time spent in this major would be worth risking either a higher or lower chance to succeed of me getting into these schools. My original decision was to choose computer science because looking at the stats of how useful this degree was, but once comparing it to economics, I personally decided that I'd be willing to take the trade-off of more speed, security, and likelihood to get accepted into these schools. As computer science has more requirements to fulfill that would take longer, harder classes that would cost me more effort, and more competitive, causing the likelihood of me getting into these schools lower. And even when choosing between these two, I told myself, I will still be developing the knowledge of my major whether I get into the school I want or not. And if I don't get accepted, well, it's not like these 2 years have gone to waste. Instead, I can use this knowledge to pursue whatever schools I do get into and take advantage of the opportunities there. And that's the real power of overthinking. Not as something that holds us back, but as a powerful tool that, when used correctly, helps us make smarter decisions and take action without fear. For us over-analytical people, we should be using overthinking to give us a leg up on our peers because we literally play every situation in our mind before it even happens. If anything, overthinking to me sounds like a superpower, and I'm super grateful that I have it. So don't stop overthinking and looking for ways to solve this problem that is a part of us. When structured correctly, it becomes a powerful asset for making better decisions, avoiding unnecessary mistakes, and for preparing for success. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, you're going to love watching what schools I actually get into as decisions come out at the end of March, so be on the lookout for that. And if you are overthinking something, leave a comment and we'll talk it out together. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.